steering wheel was like pressed up against my chest. I'm thinking, I'm gonna die in here. A drive home left me paralyzed. I was on my night shifts. I remember vividly laughing and I'm walking outside. It was a beautiful day. Yeah, I couldn't wait to get home to sleep for a little bit, only I didn't get to make it home that day. I was on my way home and I was in the right-hand lane. Saw this truck come barreling up. Before I knew it, he was in front of me and I hit him. I T-boned him going 103 kilometers an hour. Impact was like getting hit in the chest with a sledgehammer. Pinned between the door and the steering wheel was like pressed up against my chest. I'm thinking, I'm gonna die in here. I heard this calm, angelic voice behind me, and he just said, I'm here to help you. This man got in my car. He's trying to stabilize my neck and my head. Didn't even pay attention that I couldn't really feel my legs. And when they finally were able to extricate me out of the car, I thought they were ripping the top half of my body off of my lower half. It was the last full body kind of sensation. Shortly after, I was in the back of the ambulance and then took me to my trauma center. Sent me to the CT scan, and that's when they started to realize the severity of my injuries. What they found in that CT is that I broke my neck at C2, a complicated hangman fracture involving C1 and C3. It was a burst fracture with fragmentation, so all the bone fragments of C2 kind of dispersed out around my spinal cord like this. There was bone fragments that were cutting into the very fine sac that surrounds your spinal cord, combined with all of the spinal swelling at that level. Now, to move further down, they also found that I broke my back and my sacral spine. And the list just keeps going on. They decided they were gonna have to go with the halos, and it quite literally gets screwed into your skull, into that first 2mm block of bone in your skull. I knew that at 27 years old, I was likely left a quadriplegic. I think 37 days was the total amount of time I spent in hospital before I lived for the next year and a half, was in my living room in a hospital bed, unable to do anything. I've become a prisoner to my home. I was a very independent, outgoing person before all this, and so to be stuck in my home was debilitating to my mental health by itself. But my recovery started as soon as it could. Once I got home, if your body is engaging every day in physical therapy, it has to be pretty intensive. Because where I live, we don't have a lot of specialized rehab centers for neurologic rehabilitation except for one. I fundraised and my community, my family helped me go to a spinal cord injury rehab center. For the next year and a half, I worked out there. Every day for a full year, 5 days a week, I went there for 3 hours at a time. And it was almost 2.5 full years after my accident that somebody had approached me and told me, it is unlikely that you will ever walk again. I had dedicated my life to rehab, and the defeat again, it got a little bit of hope and push, and then that hope started to get retracted. And I fell into a depression during that time. Like, girl, you have a goal. Like, we're supposed to be walking at our wedding. It is in a few months. Like, it's time to pick up the speed again. And that is where my recovery took me. It was up to my wedding, and I did it. I walked at my wedding. My accident happened August 17th of 2020, so 3 years ago. Since the accident, I still do home therapy. Recovery, unfortunately, from this type of accident can never stop. Recovery has had many ups and many downs. It's definitely not been linear. I suffer from severe PTSD still. I am unable to drive. Still sit passenger in the back seat of a car, medicated sometimes to even be able to get into a vehicle. I've healed my body as physically as I can, and I will still always work toward that. I'm really working on healing my mental health now. That day, though tragic, everything aligned that saved my life. I am seen. Are you?